Last weekend, we celebrated America's 250th birthday, and the United States basically went wild celebrating. There was parades, there was fireworks, there was parties. There was just so much to be grateful for and to celebrate. And it was really honestly amazing to see. We were driving around all weekend and saw so many flags and parties and all of these different kinds of things, and it really made me think. And that's why this week's newsletter was all about why we can celebrate things like America's birthday so easily. But as women, we struggle to celebrate our own wins. It's like if it's not a 250th anniversary, then it's not worth celebrating. And that's what we're talking about today. So, hey, I'm Salen. I am a scale and system strategist for service-based women business owners. And I work with the women who are still trying to figure out exactly what is going on in their business behind the scenes and how to remove themselves from the daily operations. Because here's what I know. If you want to scale, if you want to step away to start a new business, or you want to prepare to sell, which is a minimum of 5 years for a smart exit strategy, then your business needs to be an asset, not a liability. Now, let me explain to you what that is, and then we're going to dive into today's topic. So when your business only runs because you are working, that means your business is a liability. And I am seeing too many women in 2026 who have put in so many blood, sweat, and tears who have not built a business that can run without them. So they're getting offers on their business that are not, really valued at what they should be, or they're contingent upon them staying, and then they go from being an entrepreneur to an employee. And that's not exactly why they went into business. And so regardless of why you're here, whether you want to scale, step away, start a new business, or prepare for a future sale, then you're in the right place, because that is all we talk about here. And if you're just like, Salen, I need to make more revenue, let's talk about scaling. Well, today we're going to talk about why celebrations are a huge part of that. So here's the thing. I recently ran a workshop, and I asked the women in the workshop to share with me something they wanted to celebrate. And it was crickets. Literally, I'm sitting on Zoom and I'm like watching the chat and I'm saying, how come no one? And I'm like, okay, ladies, like share something with me. And finally, someone wrote something. And I was like, okay. And everyone else was like, yay. And then I'm like, who else? And it was such a big eye opener for me, because I know so many of the women that I chat with, talk with, consult with, coach with, so many times they'll say to me, well, it's not a big deal, but whatever, right? And that disclaimer in the front is what is causing so many women to stay stuck at the revenue that they're at. Let me tell you how I figured this out. So my first business was a franchise. And because it was a franchise, they all wanted us to grow, because the more we made, the more money they made, right? Well, that was great. So we were constantly just chasing. Okay, we hit 10K, great. Okay, we hit 25K, great. Okay, we hit 50K, great. And it was like, sure, we went to convention once a year. We walked across a little stage and we got a, brick thing, plaque, whatever kind of thing. I don't know. They were like these little pillar things. And I was like, okay, that's amazing, right? But why aren't we celebrating every day? I mean, some days I think we should just celebrate the fact that we got up and got dressed, right? And we didn't fall asleep. I know right now that I'm at a point where I have been sprinting in business for the last 5 months. It's finally quieted down. You'll hear that newsletter next week and why that happened. But When we don't celebrate the small things along the way, guess what happens? Burnout. So I did some research for this week's newsletter, and it says research on women in success found that 42% believe women who openly celebrate their accomplishments get judged more for it than men do. 42% of women feel they get judged for celebrating their accomplishments, and that's why they don't celebrate them. That is a shocking statistic. And it makes me question, where are you hanging out that you feel that you cannot celebrate wins? Because I don't know about you, but I like to put myself in rooms, communities, settings, networking opportunities, friendships, everything where people are going to celebrate me and not feel like I'm being judged for that. I never feel like, okay, this is something that I need to downplay, like ever, right? Now, there are some things I will tell you, like my first business did 17 million in revenue, and I didn't realize how big of a milestone that was until I got into the coaching space, because I was so in the franchise space. And even though I was in the top 10% of franchises, there was ones doing, 10x what I was doing, right? And so I didn't realize how much $17 million was until I got in the coaching space and started really digging into other businesses outside of my franchise network. But here's the thing, only 6% of women feel comfortable sharing a win publicly. 6%. Ladies, if you don't feel comfortable sharing a win publicly, that needs to change, because here's why. Close to half decide outright that their win isn't worth bringing up. And it's not just about how we talk about wins. Harvard Business School, so Harvard Business School research found women actually rate their performance less favorably than equally performing men rate theirs. We are so tough on ourselves. And they also found that skipping the celebration entirely isn't just a mindset problem. Researchers studying burnout point to insufficient reward as one of the core drivers of it. And as someone who has experienced extreme burnout, right, back in 2010, I was extremely burnt out. I can tell you firsthand that I did not celebrate my wins enough. And I was constantly chasing the next thing, chasing. And it'd be like, there goes a win, there goes a win. And there was no celebration. And so I never stopped to realize how much I had accomplished in those first 3 years. And when I should have been celebrating $1 million in annual revenue that first year, I was instead sobbing in my car at 9 a.m. because I had just sprinted to that goal and not paid attention to all of the things along the way. And so today I want you to really think about who you're surrounding yourself with, right? This is why I create communities in both of my programs, because I want women to be in a space where they feel not only comfortable celebrating a win, but where they are encouraged to celebrate wins, and also really feel like I can fully show up as myself and know that I'm not going to be judged. And they're also not going to shrink, because here's the thing. When I've seen this happen before, we're sitting in a group setting, someone says, I landed a $20,000 client, right? But maybe they've been in business 10 years. And the woman next to her, who's brand new in business, had a win to share, but then says, oh, I don't have anything, because it's not a $20,000 client. Maybe her client was a $2,000 client. But because it wasn't 20, she shrank because of comparison. And so inside of the communities that I build for clients, I want you to feel comfortable confident and celebrate the heck out of every single win, even if it's just getting up that day and not falling asleep in your lunch, right? Because celebration comes down to one thing. When you're celebrating something, what I really want you to understand is that celebration is based on something that is usually, I'm going to use the word statistic, a level, revenue, something along those lines. But here's the thing. When you celebrate that $2,000 client or 20 likes on your Facebook post, or, I didn't fall asleep at lunch today kind of deal, that's data for your business, right? So it's saying to you, when you track those celebrations every single day, it's like, okay, I did this. I signed a $20,000 client here. Then I signed a $2,000 client here. Then I signed, a $5,000 client here. Then I signed a $10,000 client here. It's saying to you, okay, what is the trend? How did I get the 20? But how did I also get all of the other levels? What was their funnel that got them in the business? Why, how long did it take me to get them to become clients? All of those celebrations are essentially data. And if you've been in my world a lot, then you know that I love data. I am not a numbers person. I will never claim to be a numbers person. I do not love numbers. But what I do love is data, because data gives you the confidence to make smart, educated business decisions in your daily operations, right? And step into that strategic leader role that you're meant to be in as a business owner. So I want you to think, right? Celebrations are not just recognition of everything you've done. They're milestones and data that are going to show you where to put in more time and effort, energy, money, all of those different kinds of things. Because if you can land a $20,000 client and a $2,000 and a $5,000 and a $10,000, and you say to yourself, you know what, the $20,000 client was the easiest one. Well, guess where do you think you should spend your time? On the 20. So as we wrap up today, I want you to really truly think about, one, what are you going to celebrate today? Shout it out in the comments. Make sure if you're watching this live, you celebrate something in the comments. Do not be shy. I want you to put it in there. Number two, if you're saying to yourself, okay, I need to figure out how my celebrations actually become data, then I want you to scan the QR code or comment scale. Let's get on a scale strategy session where we can map out how the different clients in your business are coming in and where you should be spending your time, energy, and money. So that way you can essentially work smarter and get in the clients that light you up and make you the most profit. So I hope you found this conversation beneficial today. Not only a boost to share your wins and a mindset shift, but also to think about that celebrating your wins means that your business is growing. And now you have more data. So now you can make smarter decisions, which will grow your business even more. So shout out your wins in the comments. If you want to get on a call, comment scale, let's do it. And I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. Have a fabulous week, everyone. I'll see you then.